Welcome, everybody, to the Truth Ruth podcast. I'm your host, Ruth Anna Sontag, but most of my friends, they call me Truth Ruth because I speak the truth, and you know what the truth does. It sets you free. Here on the podcast, we dive into deep topics around faith, fitness, business, and all things success. And this is where we're going to talk about the kind of truths, the deeper things that change our lives at the fundamental level. I like to bring on incredible guests who are living out their calling, breaking barriers, and making an impact. And together, what we do is we uncover wisdom, we share powerful stories, and we equip the next generation for success and empower our listeners. So today, guys, I have a special guest for you today. Today's guest is a transformational guide who helps people align their breath, body, and subconscious for real heart-led momentum. She is passionate about shifting unhealthy dynamics in families, teams, and businesses by fostering secure connection and inner clarity. Through her signature mind body breathwork and intuitive programs, she helps others embody their most authentic expression. Please help me welcome to the stage Katie Mack. Woo! Katie! Welcome.
Oh, what a great intro, Ruth. You're amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so happy that you are here with us today. So, we met, where did we meet? We met in Vegas about
hmm
a month ago at a mastermind, correct?
Yes.
And I remember meeting and I was like, who is this woman? Like, you just have this radiance, you have this glow, you have this way of lighting up the room. And I was like, I gotta talk to her. And when we ended up going to dinner together at this really fancy Asian restaurant in a casino, and
Yeah.
that's where we connected. It was amazing.
Yeah. You're one of those radiant beings too. I saw you on stage sharing what you do, and I was definitely like, look at this woman. Wow, powerhouse. So
Oh,
having dinner with you was awesome.
thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So I'm super glad to have you today on the podcast. And so when I was reading your intro, um, you are into breath work, correct?
Yes.
Can you please explain to our audience just like what is breath work? As a teacher, like I remember always breaking concepts down for my students. I hold this belief that we have the same dictionary, like we all have the same dictionary of words, but I'm sorry, we all have the same vocabulary of words. We have different dictionaries in our heads. So breath
Yes.
work
Well
to
said.
somebody else could mean something to somebody else. So how would you define what you do?
Yeah, so, and this is a great question because breathwork is becoming more popular in the mainstream. And what breathwork really is a general umbrella term of working with your breath. And so, to define in which way you're using breathwork to navigate your own personal connection, your own performance abilities,
Mm,
healing, so breathwork could be used to facilitate any process, especially when it comes to health. If you're not aware that you're dysfunctional breathing on a day-to-day level, doing certain types of breath work practices and engaging in your breath in a more functional way will establish those results, right? If you can even use breathwork as a transformational portal,
mm,
because you can use breathwork at a particular rhythm in a particular way that will activate your system to sort of make it say, hey, what's going on here? And when our system gets into that, let's say a fight or flight or a shocked kind of zone, or this is not regular, what's happening here?
mm,
The system is primed to make decisions at that time because your nervous system is built automatically to protect you and to receive information, not just for protection, but also for clarity, for ways of making decisions in life, right?
mm.
So you can tap into your nervous system in a transformational way and then reprogram it to make new decisions. So old automatic responses that you're not needing anymore. They don't serve anymore. Certain protection responses, you can reprogram them through breath work.
Ooh, I mean, you're hitting on some terms that really are standing out to me.
Yeah,
Clarity.
feel free to break them down if you want,
Oh,
if
no, I
nothing,
love it.
to
No,
make more sense.
oh, they
Yeah.
all make sense. I'm just like, I'm just into it. I'm with you. I'm right here. You're
Okay,
talking
cool.
about calming, or I know that like breath work is very calming and helps you have
Hmm.
that reset, helps you to, I think you said like reprogram, have healing, have clarity, and just even the power of like just take a breath, just breathe. And then I was thinking while you were talking about like how do you know if something's alive or it's dead? And you know something's alive because there's breath in it. And I
Yes.
just like how powerful that is. Excuse me. And sometimes um, I've had this revelation recently around faith and God, where I'll say, God, blow my mind. And what I mean by that is like, God, blow the breath of life, the ruach, blow the breath of life in over my mind, blow the breath of life into me again. That's a prayer I've been praying for about the last 2 or 3 years. And so I just love this topic of breath work. And I have something I've dove too much into, but more recently, just being more cognizant of my breath and being more
Yeah.
cognizant to breathe deeply, to reset on the inside. And even before we opened up this podcast, we did a quick prayer and you led us in a breath, and just the words that you shared, I think were really powerful as well. You were saying words of like, take a deep breath and just release everything you're holding on to, let it go.
Hmm.
And it's the cognizant awareness of releasing, letting go, like opening the fist of everything though on the inside. And so I thought that was really, really neat.
Yeah. And you're in my eyes, you're a master of breath because you have the most fundamental and powerful relationship with it is you're aware of it. And to me, breath awareness is the be all end all of anything. And then add a rhythm onto it, add words onto it, add actions onto it, movements onto it, postures onto it. Have fun with it, with all those things. But in the end, it's only just you being in your breath and aware of it is all the other things are just added.
Oh, I love that. Being in your breath. It also reminds me of a scripture. In him we live and move and have our being. Like there's that breath, that movement, that life. I just love that. So, ooh,
Yeah, you're being a part of life in its most purest form as it moves through you when your
yes.
awareness is on the breath.
I love that. And awareness is always the beginning of any type of change or transformation is
Yeah.
you can't fix a problem you're not aware of. So I love that you were mentioning that. And even when we were doing the breath before we, came on the podcast, like just the word I got was like presence, coming back to a place of presence, coming back to a place of now. For
Hmm.
me, I'm one of those people where I think I'm a real go-getter. And one of the challenges I have is like being very present, not just what's next, what's next, what's next. And I love that as you led us through that breath before we got on, like it helped me to come back and just really appreciate this moment.
Yeah. And presence is power. It's a skill,
Presence is
right? It's a skill that we cultivate, and because we cultivate the mind-body connection.
mm. And it is cultivated like it's a muscle. It's
Yep.
something that gets to be practiced and supported and strengthened over time. It's not something we pop out of the womb with. Can you talk a little bit about cultivating presence as power? Can you talk a little bit more about that? That's really powerful.
Yeah. So one of the components that makes the transformations I achieve with others so successful is breath work, but the main is the belief work that goes along with it. So I combine belief and breath work. So
Mhm.
what that means is in your mind, you have belief systems that can be from your parents, that can be from society, they can be from just your own decision making along the journey. And if you have opposing belief systems in your mind, like part of me feels that I'm enough. And then when this happens, I don't feel enough,
Yeah.
like at all. So there's, if you looked at that, you could see that there's a split self, right? And so what you essentially want to do when you're transforming is becoming one again, becoming a whole again.
Mm.
It's so if presence is that oneness in yourself, in your here and now. And because your mind is meant to store and to be automatic, it has all of these great functions, right? Your nervous system is an automatic system. So it has information in it that makes it act a certain way automatically.
Yes.
And if that information is not, like, let's say it's afraid, so it's going to come in and control this very moment based on its own knowings of fear. And so
Mm.
it's going to become really hard to be present because your mind is going to take over to keep you safe.
Yes, you're talking my language. You are speaking my language. So, the transformation work that I feel so privileged and blessed to walk people through is really renewing the mind to rid oneself, not rid, that's not the right word, renew.
Yeah. And also update.
Yes, renew and update. Yes, I love
Yeah.
these terms. Renew, update. Actually, there was one time, it's a fun little story. I was actually at church and I was having just encountering God. And I remember God was using with me all these special terms around technology and update your system, clear your cache, uh,
Yeah.
download this new system, clear the cookies, all these different, like,
Totally.
it was just so fun. It was like all these different technology terms that you could use to really picture internal renewal, healing, growth, reset. And I love the word programming, like reprogramming and being mindful. Like even in those moments when you led us through a breath just a few minutes ago, like it is like that awareness of what do I want to hold on to? What do I want to let go of? The basis of decision making and how powerful that is. And I love the work that you're doing. I love the work that you're into, and you're helping to transform teams with this, not just individuals, but teams, businesses, and leaders. Correct?
Yeah. Because often we share in the environment and we share in each other's breath. So, what we're sharing in right now,
Yeah.
is radiant and magical. So it's super easy for us to like play in the sparkly energy, right? But you get into different dynamics within teams and someone or schools or this family stuff. Someone's coming with a different breath. Someone's coming with a different belief, and if you want to fight that belief, you don't like their belief, maybe you feel threatened by their belief,
Yeah.
then, these dynamics start to affect our creativity and they affect our flow, which I guess I do talk a lot about flow because fears and protectiveness, although they are assumed to serve, they actually cause a lot more um, damage than we can realize sometimes. And so,
Mm.
if you want your team to succeed, your family to succeed, your business to succeed, then let's take a lot of steps back, enter more deeply into a greater truth in your system where that breath is free to move through your body. And that's complete safety. And then different parts of your brain turn on and you end up becoming more creative, more focused,
Yeah.
um, and more collaborative, like dumping ideas, but also taking action. That's very easy. We're out of the struggle bus and into the flow.
I love that. I love that. It's kind of like it's the concept of slowing down to go faster.
Yeah,
Definitely the concept of slow down and you'll go faster. That's a
yeah,
that's a really powerful concept. I think that more of our world gets to grab onto, is the slow down. You're just running, like
Yeah,
just
which is
breathe.
another form of presence. Like become
Yeah.
present,
Yeah.
and that's the
That's
range
the
of yeah, that's the it's a gift to be present. Yeah. But I think that's what we mean when we say slow down is like be here, be now. This breath, this moment is where we really are. If we can hear that, if we can connect to that, then now we have access to all things within us, right?
Mm,
And if we're going too fast within us, planning ahead, you know, we're not in the breath simultaneously, like we're not in our body, so
mm,
it doesn't layer itself inside of us. It becomes just a thought that can leave at any time, right? Like when you're embodied,
yeah.
now it's something more concrete. It's not like just ether, like floating and changing dramatically. So I really think like that presence or slowing down is within the breath of embodiment. So then we're making action that's like full body action. It's not just a logic cognitive thought.
Yeah. And I like that idea. Something I with my personality that works really well with me is the idea of I'm either gonna own this or it's gonna own me. And I
Well done.
love the idea of like mastering self, like mastering like I'm either gonna breathe life or life's gonna breathe me. I'm
Yeah,
either gonna juice
exactly.
this lemon or this lemon's gonna, this life's gonna juice me like a lemon. And so I was like,
Yeah,
I'd rather be the one who owns it and embodies it versus being owned by it. It's
yeah,
maybe it's my way of having self-control and mastery and power over instead of things having power over me, right? It's like I'm going to be the
yeah,
master, not the slave here. And I just love what you said about embodying it. That's huge. Be here, be now. And I feel like that's really big for the society and the times that we live in. Would you agree? Because everything is so go, 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 and there's so much competition and people really trying to impress others versus really diving into who they are and what they're called to do.
yeah. I mean, the reason we want to heal mental illness, or we want to heal any dysfunction with our fellow human, is to have more peace, to have more fun, to have more joy.
Yeah.
It's like, can we play? Can we enjoy this life? And if there's a dis-ease in the pattern, in the
Come
mix,
on. Come
it's
on.
not as fun. Let's be honest.
It's
It's
not.
not as
Yeah,
fun.
disease is not fun. Can we just put that in the comments today? Disease is not fun.
It's
And it's
not
it's
fun.
honestly it's when you slow down. I mean, dis-ease makes you slow down. It's the road bump of life, really getting your attention. Like, hey, slow down here. It's more of a school zone, not a highway. Let's learn something. What's happening? Check in.
Hmm.
Check in.
Hmm.
Maybe we gotta go back to what's the programming that's leading the system here, right? We need to
Hmm.
update some
In
things
this moment. Yeah, in
in this
this moment.
moment, here and now. The
Yeah.
present is the gift, and it's really cultivating. I think going back to that word, cultivating strength. Um, which is yeah, be here, be now, be you. And oh man, these words that you're using, I'm a very wordy person. Like just the words mean so much to me. And so you're saying words like peace, fun, play, joy. I'm like, yes. Can we just have more of that, please? Like if life was, you know, a menu, I would just be like, can I have some more? I'll take some fun and some joy with a side of play. you know,
Yeah.
thank you. That's
And a sprinkle of peace.
and a sprinkle of peace, a heaping bed of peace.
Yeah. Put it
um,
all on a brownie of peace, please.
there you go, a brownie of peace with a scoop of fun and some sprinkles of joy. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's what I think. That's a life I want to live in. Is one where there's more play, collaboration, connection, and that's slowing down. I feel like somebody said this, and oh man, it blew my mind. They said, "What is your ideal day?" And she was this was at an like a conference for a multi-level marketing or a network marketing company. And this woman who's like a top earner, she's on stage, she's got the mic, and she says, I used to envision my success. And success to me, my ideal day was slow mornings. And then she said other things. I was like stuck on slow mornings. And I was like, wow, how come we never talk about slow mornings? You
Yeah.
know? It's always like, get up, get dressed, drink your coffee, ha, 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 like go to work. You know, it's always like wake up and then you just jump into the rat race. And it's like, hey, I don't want to be in a rat race. I'm not a rat. Like, even if I win the
Totally.
rat race, you're still a rat. I don't want to. No, I don't like that version. And I love the idea of slow mornings where you can be
Yeah.
present, you can breathe. You can be in your being. I just love that
Yeah.
versus just doing the doing. Can we just be in our being versus doing all the doing? Have you seen a lot
Yeah.
of that? Have you seen a lot of that like in the work that you get to do and even how you've structured your own life?
Yeah. I actually have slow mornings. That's my life. Yeah. And I think it comes as a result of the work.
Yeah.
If you have a hypersensitivity to, let's say, pleasing others, or your own self-worth, like what do you deserve? Are you allowed? You feel like, okay, you can't have permission to do certain things. Like if you notice that in your mind, if it creeps in at all, those big things, right? Like, oh, but they require this of me. Oh, what if they're mad? Like some of those like what ifs that are about other people's happiness,
Yeah.
you know. And then if you also have worries, what will happen if um, I don't show up, if I fail, right? If I do this wrong, if you have that, like, slow mornings is basically saying you don't wake up with anxiety. It's like your nervous system is rested and rejuvenated,
Oh,
and
wow.
you're breathing easily. That's really what you're saying. And so if you come across that that's not me, I'd like to say that make that you, because
Yes.
you deserve that,
Yeah.
and it's actually in your nature. The being of you is meant to feel okay.
Mm. Put that on a t-shirt. The being of you is meant to feel okay. I
Yeah,
love that. I love that. I love that. As you're speaking, I was taking notes about, when you can have those slow mornings, when you have that like no anxiety, um, that beingness is allowing yourself to be okay. You're really designing your life, not just running on somebody else's design, not running on somebody else's default. And rest and rejuvenation, I feel like that's a conversation and a topic that I feel like our world gets to have more of. There's so much running and burnout. A lot of people are stressed to the max, and you can see it on their bodies. You can see it in the way that they show up, in the way they communicate, in their families, in their work, and it's like their work is working them versus them working their work, and I'm like, oh gosh, it's so it can be difficult to see. It can be difficult to see. This is why I love what you're doing. And I used even like the idea of like as I was just looking over, really your bio and more about you. You help people align their nervous system and their subconscious for real momentum. Like
yeah,
what does that look like?
yeah. So really, we start off by saying awareness really is such an important part of transformation, right? If you're not aware of it, um, how can you change it? So noticing really, like, in the same, when you're looking at functional breathing versus dysfunctional breathing, like you might think that you're breathing perfectly fine until maybe you take some measurements that then get you to become aware. that you're actually breathing terribly,
Hmm.
like really bad,
Wow. How
right?
would
Like some
somebody
people,
know? How would somebody know if
ex-
they're breathing terribly?
yeah. So there are subjective measurements that you can take, and that I guide people through taking, so that there we can have like a it's like a breathing portfolio. You know, it's like
Hmm.
there are ways to know how your body's functioning mechanically, chemically, and psychologically that also promote, dysfunctional or functional breathing. And usually if you even get the breathing profile, you
Hmm.
can then notice, how do we get the nervous system and the subconscious to build momentum. So you get the breathing profile. Then you also get your core genius. So I run an assessment with people that is able to tell how they prefer to process life. So we all may grow up in different ways that aren't in our preference of
Yeah.
what our core genius, like if we all had that like perfect utopia social experiment where we got to be exactly who we were meant to be with nobody altering that, what would that be? And so we determined that very easily. We can determine that. So because there's a system to do it. And then, so then we have your breathing profile, knowing that system. Are you functional, dysfunctional? So, okay, if you're way on the dysfunctional side, like we now know you have mental patterns as well that are dysfunctional because that mind body link is very much in the breath.
Hmm.
And so like, let's say you wake up anxious, you have a regular breathing pattern that says, I don't have enough oxygen. I don't have enough. I'm not enough. I can't do it. I'm not able.
Can
And it's
you,
happening on a cellular level.
yeah, can you speak into that just for a moment for those who might be watching or listening who that's where they're at, that's where they're at right now. What's a tip you could give them or something supportive to help them right here and now for those who are feeling anxious or maybe they are breathing extremely like dysfunctional or it's not proper, not full. They're missing out on what's available to them. What's a tip you could give them so that they could, you know, change, transform, heal, or improve?
Yeah, it would be an improvement tip, because the layers of who you are, um, do have more depth. But you can apply a technique that improves you for sure. And what I would do is demystify one thing that happens to people. So usually it's like, oh, what if I don't breathe well? Somebody may typically take a deep breath, and their deep breath is actually not helping them breathe better.
Hmm.
So very often a deep breath will bring the shoulders up. It will inflate all through here, and it will also create tension, and then they can relax. So there's a benefit to that breath. There's a sensation of more relaxation because usually that deep breath then gives the sensation of relaxing after.
Yeah.
But that's not changing your breathing pattern. It's just giving you a sensation of
Yeah.
deeper relaxation in that moment. So if you want to change your breathing pattern, it's actually the opposite, to breathe through your nose and make your breath work. Make it as if you're breathing like a mouse, not wanting to be found by a cat. It's called breathe light to breathe right.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah, so you would create a little air hunger. You're actually going against the grain because you need to change the bioreceptors in your system because you don't have the capability to have a nice influx between, the vasoconstrictors that like pull and move and everything. So typically, if you're a dysfunctional breather, one of the categories is shallow breathing, quick breathing, right? And so you would take a deep breath and it would give the sensations in the muscles that you're relaxing the tension from breathing so often, right? You're like kind of hyper oxygenating your body. You're resting inside. So you actually want to go the opposite. Try to get your body to work harder, to have a slower breath by slowing the breath down and kind of creating an air hunger that your body has to work to accept. So
Mm.
then later it's not panicking and the normal functioning system where it's trying to oxygenate, but it's not because it doesn't have the pressure. So we now slow it down and we create air hunger inside. And then if you do that, like even some people start to do that for 1 minute. And I say to them, don't worry if you don't even get like the full minute to where you need to take that deeper breath. Your body is going to start to adjust itself. So 1 minute, one day, you take a deeper breath, maybe you do 30 seconds of that really silent, like sips of breath in and out. You create uncomfortability in the system by breathing less. Then you're like, oh, now I really need to breathe. Okay, so try not to take such a gulping, like, oh my gosh, I really need to breathe now, because it's subconscious communication all the time. And
Mm.
so that breath can be like, I have enough. It's okay, so then you just, okay, and then you go back in. So you're basically restructuring the enoughness that your body is
Ooh,
feeling.
that's a good word,
Yeah.
enoughness. And as you were sharing, I was thinking like the answer is go slow and go deep versus a bunch of short and shallow, which is also like an analogy and a metaphor for how most of us approach life. Short and shallow, little sprints versus slow down to go faster, go deep,
Go deep, be present.
be present, practice. And this is such a great conversation. I love this. I love this. I love this. This is really, really powerful. And I'm sure the way that you support people and the way that you help them, just allows them to really dive into who they are, more into that presence and into that being, and helps them have amazing results.
Yeah.
I can imagine that. Something that I love to ask people when they're on the podcast is, what does success mean to you?
Learning.
Great answer. Could you elaborate a little bit?
Yeah, if I learn, like if there's just one of those days, where you're like every conversation, you're like learning something and you're discovering something, right? You're being, maybe something's being told that you like really didn't know. And
Yeah.
you're like, so you get these like, aha, no way, aha. All of that to me, that type of learning and interaction, if I can have that like consistently a lot in a day, I am extremely successful.
Oh, I love that. But yeah, that's a whole persona and a way to approach your day, like looking for
Yeah.
opportunities to learn and celebrating the ahas.
You want to know my logic behind it?
Please.
Is you're building new neural networks and turning them on, you know, through learning and those ahas. It's
Yeah.
actually like the light bulbs that are firing in your nervous system and in your brain. And so to me, that's one step towards more liveliness than a step towards death, basically.
I love it. I love it. I agree. High five. Great answer. That's huge.
Success, live, yay!
Success. We're learning.
Living!
We're winning at life.
Yes, just by living. I'm learning, I'm living. It's good. I'm a success.
I love it. I love it. Another question I'd like to ask my guests is, looking back, what is one thing that you would have wished you learned as a kid?
And, I think we find our purpose in that and we give back to other kids when we know what that is. And it's to know that I have the power to manage my own feelings and my own reactions through breath work
Yes. You have the power to manage your own emotions.
and
That's one
reaction.
thing. Yeah, and
Yeah.
reactions. That's huge. That's one thing I wish I didn't learn about, like a lot of emotional intelligence until I was probably around 28 years old. Maybe as
Yeah.
a and I'm 34, so it was like it hasn't been a long time, but that was something I felt like I was not aware of, was emotions. And oh my goodness, I just felt so shut down for so long. And now I'm like, "Oh my gosh, emotions are my friend." Like I don't have like I'm not gonna let them manage me. I'm gonna manage them. And it's like that awareness that I'm the manager. of these emotions. I am in charge of how I feel and my reactions. That's a huge lesson. That's a huge
Yes.
thing to adopt even as a young person. When did you start like adopting that?
Well, so my mom has and had multiple sclerosis when I was young. So I was learning that you're a victim to your nervous system.
Mm,
And it didn't really ever sit well, which probably made me more anxious.
yeah.
So then when I began, um, there was a turning point in my life where someone I loved tragically died. And I knew enough about healing and recovery based on my education. I was in sports medicine and then I was in pre-medicine. That I was like, no, there has to be a way that I heal this emotional trauma uh, faster. And I had an incentive because I just had my son,
Mm,
and so this person that I loved very deeply, he died a year and a half before I found out I was pregnant, and then had my son. So when I had postpartum, I then was grieving in another level because I still wasn't able to grieve. And as I was holding my son, I knew for sure he did not deserve a mother in this emotional state.
ooh, that's
So
powerful.
yeah, that was powerful because from that moment on, it was like, you make those power decisions, whether it's for you or the ones you love, and then the waters part, and you find the path to get you there. And that's how I found core belief engineering, where you can restructure the beliefs that are triggering the feelings, and 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 that's how I understood. Oh wait, our nervous system is just protecting itself based on what it believes it needs to do,
Yeah.
and then I healed it. So like that's what I saw. I looked at how can I heal this state that I'm in the fastest for my son, and that's how I found core belief engineering, and I've been doing that ever since and teaching others.
That's really cool. I love how you said, "My son does not deserve a mother with this emotional state." That's huge. That's huge. So I have a question for you. I run a program. It's called Success Club, where I educate, equip, and empower kids to think, speak, and act like champions while also
Hmm.
supporting their parents and raising these world changers. Why do you think the world needs something like Success Club right now?
I mean, there's 100,000 million reasons. One would be at the top of that mountain, authenticity, safety.
Mm,
This makes everything else flow.
yeah, I
It's
agree.
so it's so required. It's meant to be invested in.
Well, our kids are our future. I mean, they are the future. It's Yeah, it feels to me very, like, when you find your hot button, like you found your thing that for you is like, it's the hill you'll die on, or it's like, it's this life or death thing. And I think that it's really important for us to pour into them, to give them the skills, the knowledge, the tools so that they can sustain, not just sustain, but succeed, do well, thrive, and really pioneer the world in front of us.
Yeah, and if they're wrapped up in trying to prove themselves or please others or feel like they're afraid to fail by stepping into who they are, it's not doing any of us any good.
No, it's not. And it's also just continuing the patterns of sabotage and the patterns of victimhood or low
Suffering.
low every yeah, I was gonna say low everything, low self-esteem, low self-worth, and suffering. And
Dis-ease.
this is
Dis-ease is no fun.
we should
Get
name
rid of it.
that's the title of this podcast. Disease is no fun.
Yes.
Ruthie Sanjay talking about breath work. So good. It's so good. Well,
Yeah.
if you could leave our listeners with one challenge or action step, what would it be?
Sit with themselves, let's say, as often as they can. Because listen, I even do it when I'm talking to people. So I know it's like there's a lot of potential here. Sit with yourselves as often as you can and be connected to your breath.
Mm, simple.
And I mean, you don't have to necessarily sit either. It's just I say sit because it's kind of like I sit into myself.
Yeah.
So like, I kind of fold in to be with my breath. And then I'm walking and I'm talking and I'm like doing life. But that action, like if you can fold in, it'd be great.
Mm, yeah. Just be.
Just be
Just be. I love
comfortable
that.
in your own skin and your own breath, right?
Yeah, that's really powerful. That's really powerful. And now you have something coming up recently, like in the near future, right? So for those who are listening, who are feeling like this, like, oh my gosh, I'm curious, I'm interested. There's a pull to work more with you or go into this work more deeply. What's the special that you have coming up?
Yeah, it's called Awakened Momentum. It's a way to experience my specific type of breath work, which I call mind body breath work. And what makes my breath work stand out differently is my years of experience that keeps an open umbrella mind for all access to what's possible in the nervous system. And so I'm going to go into more detail about that and how it can benefit you as a parent, you as a coach, you as a team player, if you're a professional athlete or you just play on the weekends. I mean, just anybody that has any desire to operate within their nervous system more efficiently, or if you even just want to come and like shed some layers of pressure or stress. At the end, there's the VIP option from 8 to 9 to experience that breath work. So it's an hour long to do that unfolding. And what we do is we enter the system in a very integrated way that allows you to dump emotional baggage.
I love that.
Yeah.
How do people? How do they get in contact with you?
So you can get me on Instagram and Facebook, LinkedIn, and the Katie Mac Wellness, and my website, katiemacwellness.com. And it's under construction currently. It's going to be like so amazing very soon, but even just km at katiemacwellness.com email.
Awesome, awesome. Katie, it was so lovely having you here on the podcast. This was a breath of fresh air, pun
Ah,
intended, pun
you're
intended.
so
And
good.
I love we'll just leave with the final thought to share with our listeners or to our viewers of just be. Sit with yourself, just be, take a deep breath and slow down so that you can go faster. Thank you so
Hmm.
much, Katie. And to everyone watching, we bless you. Mwah! Have a good one, y'all. Bye.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.